Groceries are expensive, everything's expensive. We can all use tips and tricks here and there to shave off a couple dollars wherever we can. When you think about what you would pay for a couple of nice steaks or a roast or even just some pork chops, I'm really going to shave off quite a few dollars by slicing up my own meat. This is a pork loin, half, center, and sirloin. This is from my local No Frills. It is 4.39 kilograms, 9.7 pounds. I also picked up this lovely beef eye round. This one is coming in at about 8.8 kilograms, which is about 19.4 pounds. And I'm gonna start off with this chunk of beef. The eye of round comes from the rear leg of the cow and is super lean, so it's great if you're trying to have a lower fat intake, but it can also be tough. You do need to be creative when preparing to cook it, but in future videos, I'll show you some of my tricks to make this meat tasty. I'm starting by squaring off the larger end, which I will cut up into chunks a little later. Next, I'm going to cut 4 1-inch steaks, which I will definitely marinate before cooking. Then I'm going to separate a roast, which I will likely prepare in a slow cooker. One of my favorite things to do with this is to make barbacoa. I've seen Instant Pot recipes for barbacoa, but I haven't tried any yet, so maybe that will be a future video as well. Now I'm just cutting the rest into chunks, which will be perfect for stew meat or marinated and stir-fried. I make stir-fry quite often, and I'm always looking for new ideas for marinades, so feel free to share your favorites in the comments. I like to keep my meat portions in resealable plastic bags because then I can dump a marinade straight into the bag in the future. Try to get as much air out of the bags as possible when you're sealing them up to avoid freezer burn. Now I have a nice big roast, 2 pairs of steaks, and 2 packages of chunks. So I've separated this into at least 5 meals for 2 people, making each meat portion cost $2.24 per person. Now, moving along to the pork loin. This is the part of the hog where lots of more expensive cuts come from. This is just half of it with the bones removed, and my piece here does not include the tenderloin. I'm not super confident in cutting these up, but I'm sure that will come with practice. I'm once again starting by squaring off an end, and the first thing that I'm separating from this is a center roast. I have a fairly ambitious plan for this cut, which will be in a future video. And from here, I'm going to cut 2 thick chops. These are nice and fatty, so they won't absolutely require marination like the lean eye of round steaks. Now, the rest of this was a little floppy and intimidating, so I was a little lost. But I started taking off smaller pieces that would become chunks, setting aside large portions of fat. And I sliced these interesting chops and a portion that I will use to make pulled pork. And then I cut the last bit of leaner meat into strips, which are awesome to pre-cook and add on top of a salad. They end up being a similar texture to chicken breast. The rest of this I'm cutting into chunks, which will most likely end up in a stir fry. I have a small amount of fat and bits left over, which will go into the fridge until I figure out a use for them. And I always figure out something. And by the end, it almost looks like I know what I'm doing. I have some chops, some future pulled pork sandwiches, some strips and chunks, and a big roast. The pork loin center and sirloin cost just under $16, and I separated it into at least 6 meals. For 2 people, making each of these meals meat portion cost about $1.32 per person. So that's just a little peek inside my kitchen when I prep some meat. I'll show you lots of ideas in upcoming videos. I just hope you continue to watch me on this journey of figuring out my own YouTube channel. Keep watching for more videos. I promise it can only go up from here. This is Dinner with Lydia, and I'm Lydia Jones. So there's only so much money that can be spent on food in a month. We're on a budget. We're on a budget.